Then we noticed the basement door. My friend insisted we check it out, saying,
Sup? Though? Let's go. My eyes are still bothering me. Just want to let y'all know that. PSA. Cluck is pollen.
This is a story that's kind of collective. It's something that happened in my neighborhood about a year ago.
Right.
It's a small, tight-knit community where we all participate in a neighborhood watch.
Yeah, I don't know about all of us, but I'm going to be alright.
Everyone is in this group chat, and there isn't a single person who's not involved. We typically don't have any wild situations, just small things like, hey, there's going to be a storm tomorrow, or someone left their tricycle out. You know, the kinds of things that make parents' lives a little less stressful. Honestly, the group is pretty trustworthy and cool. I like it a lot. All the families are in it, about 65 people in total, which is quite a few. We watch
I guarantee you, out of that 65, you have about 10 to 15 people that's clock asses
for each other, and it feels like a little community. One day, though, everything changed. Up until then, we'd never had a scare, but someone reported seeing a strange vehicle just sitting on the side of the road. Like I said, we knew everyone in the neighborhood and in the group chat, so we immediately knew this person wasn't from our area. Maybe they were just passing through or admiring the nice houses. We live in a fairly wealthy area, but it seemed suspicious. We reported in the chat and decided to keep an eye out. The next night, the same car was spotted in the same place. Now we were all wondering what was going on. One of the parents, Sam, decided to walk up to the car and ask the person what they were doing. But as he approached, the car drove off.
Oh no!
Very suspicious if you ask me. At this point, we were on high alert. Everyone was worried, especially about...
At that point, you should have... At the first sign or the first sight of that car, that foreign ass car. Y'all know everybody. Y'all know what everybody else's car look like. The moment y'all see another car that's out of the ordinary, that's not the norm. That's when y'all should have raised suspicions.
Kids. We didn't know if this person was a kidnapper or a stalker. Nobody had any idea. The following night, the car was spotted again, but this time in a different part of the neighborhood. Someone typed in the group chat, "The car is back. Has anyone else seen it?" Sam, the same person who had approached the car before, confirmed he'd seen it too. He told everyone, "Don't let them leave. Don't approach. I'm on my way." Sam was determined to get justice and figure out what this person was doing. Sam went over to the car, and the group chat blew up. Everyone was watching the situation unfold. It was honestly a bit dramatic, but also kind of entertaining in a weird way. Someone even started live streaming it for evidence, just in case anything happened. Sam approached the car. It was dark, and there weren't many streetlights, so we couldn't see much on the live stream. But then, out of nowhere, we saw Sam get punched in the face.
Jesus!
He went down hard and got the living crap beaten out of him. Honestly, I didn't like Sam, so I thought it was kind of funny. He was always hating on people who were successful and lying about things, so I wasn't exactly feeling that sorry for him. The group chat went from entertained to panicked, though. People tried calling the cops, but the live stream ended abruptly.
Can you imagine? Everybody sees what's going on. He getting the dog shit beat out of him, right? Everybody see this. But nobody helping out. Oh my God.
Person's phone died. Can you believe that? No evidence, no video, nothing. I probably should have recorded it myself, but I was too caught up in watching. Sam, meanwhile, got absolutely destroyed. It was brutal. Now we have a real problem on our hands. There was a violent person lurking in the neighborhood, and no one knew who they were. The cops didn't have enough to go on because we couldn't provide any solid evidence. And nobody ever got a good look at the license plate of the car. The quality of the video was not good enough, and nobody remembered. So it became up to the neighborhood watch to figure it out. We split into 3 groups across the 65 people.
Again, I don't know about the splitting up shit. I'm not even a part of this shit. As a matter of fact, I'm asleep like a baby. You know why? You know why? Because I checked the damn checklist. And I got Adidas protection, and I got Adidas insurance, and I go to sleep knowing that Adidas is on my side.
With a plan. If the car showed up again, we'd approach it with 2 people at a time or call the cops immediately. But we also wanted to handle it ourselves because honestly, the local cops didn't seem to care about it as much as us. We waited and waited for weeks. Then, one night around 6 p.m., it happened. Someone spotted the car and sent a photo in the group chat. Everyone sprang into action, ready to execute the plan. But before anyone could approach, another message came in. A second car had been spotted in a different location. Then, 2 more cars appeared. Now there were 4 cars spread across the neighborhood. At this point, our whole plan was useless. We had no idea what was going on. Were they planning a raid? Did they have weapons? We didn't know, but we knew they were violent. Against everyone's better judgment, Sam decided to approach one of the cars again, and this time he got shot in the leg. Everyone in the group chat was freaking out, locking their doors and calling the police. It's a gated community, so we couldn't figure out how these cars even got in. But then some of the kids in the group started.
They probably got in by tailgating the person that's already living here going through that gate. Or a guest pass or something. Or unless you got like some security at the gates that's in cahoots.
Noticing something weird. One of the group chat members, Lucas, hadn't spoken in weeks. The kids were convinced Lucas had something to do with it, even though the adults didn't believe them. Lucas was well liked, but the kids knew better. Eventually, the cops shut the gate down and came to investigate. Sure enough, Lucas was caught in one of the cars. It turned out he'd been orchestrating a massive robbery. He and his accomplices planned to hit every house in the neighborhood, stealing jewelry and valuables.
Every house?
Because Lucas was in the group chat, he knew exactly who had money.
See what I'm saying? That group chat. That group, it's all, hey, it's probably more than one Cluck-ass, but it's confirmed there was at least one Cluck-ass in that group chat.
Where people hid their valuables. The whole thing unfolded over 3 months because police investigations take forever. But in the end, the robbery failed. It's crazy to think one of our own neighbors tried to pull off a heist like that.
It's not that damn crazy. It's not that crazy. You know, y'all don't know each other like that. Again, when we leave a house, or with some people, the majority of the time when you leave a house, right, you put up this, some people put up this, what's it called, like persona, or this mask, or this whatever face, or interaction, or personality, but then behind closed doors, they're a whole different person. Just because they're your neighbor don't mean nothing.
Anyway, I'm just glad it's over. And honestly, I'm still laughing about Sam getting shot in the leg and left outside on someone's lawn. And he has made a full recovery.
Damn. Get out that group chat.
This is something that happened back when I was younger. I lived in a pretty calm neighborhood. It was packed with houses, kids playing in the street, and people grilling outside. During the time of this story, it was summer, so the neighborhood was lively. I knew my neighbors, but they didn't know me. The only reason I knew them was because I'd overhear conversations through their open kitchen window, but they knew nothing about me. Our backyard was fenced in, and so was theirs. The fences met at one point, so there were small cracks in the wood, not big enough to see clearly through, but enough to catch a glimpse if you got close. I spent a lot of time outside practicing baseball in our batting cage or playing with my dog, so I was usually out there. I never really thought about whether the neighbors spent much time in their yard until something strange happened. One day, as I was walking past the fence, I heard something, a whisper. I stopped, confused. I stood there listening, but it was quiet. I couldn't tell if I'd imagined it or if it was just the wind. After a moment, I shrugged it off and kept going. The next day, I was outside again, this time playing with my dog. I wasn't making much noise, but then I heard it again. This time, it sounded like someone saying, "Hey." I paused, trying to figure out where it came from.
What you pausing for? Sorry. That was a little aggressive. I didn't mean it. That was a bit too much. And I'm sorry. Let's backtrack. What I meant to say was, what you pausing for?
It sounded close, like it was coming from the fence, but I couldn't see anyone. I started to wonder if I was imagining things. I told myself that if it happened again, I'd get to the bottom of it. I noticed it only happened when I was outside during the day, so I decided to switch my routine. I started practicing at night when it was quiet and pitch black.
Wow.
The high fences made me feel safe, and I liked the peacefulness. One night, after finishing my practice, I paused to gather my things. Everything was calm, and I was just enjoying the quiet when I heard it again. This time, it said my name, Cassidy. I stopped what I was doing and looked at the fence. It felt like it came from right behind it. I leaned closer to the cracks in the wood and thought I saw something, a shadow or a figure. I couldn't make it out clearly, but it felt like it was watching me. I couldn't imagine how anyone could know my name. I never told my name to anyone in the neighborhood, and my parents didn't talk to the neighbors either. I tried to stay calm and act like I didn't hear anything, but the voice came again. Cassidy, don't ignore me. I decided to respond. I walked closer to the fence and said, hello?
What?
But nobody answered.
What?
I put my hand on the fence, and suddenly there was a loud bang.
That was. Why didn't you just go back in the house? You. Clock you.
Something had slammed into the wood with enough force to crack it.
Jesus.
Almost immediately, I heard vicious growling and barking. It sounded like a dog was tearing at the wood from the other side, biting it like it was styrofoam. The noise was frenzied, like whatever it was on the other side wanted to break through. I panicked and ran inside to tell my parents. When I explained, they looked confused. The neighbors don't have a dog, they said. I insisted I wasn't imagining it, and they followed me outside to check. Sure enough, the fence was cracked. The wood had been pushed outward, like something had slammed into it. We went over to talk to the neighbors. They seemed surprised when we told them what happened. They repeated what my parents said. We don't have a dog. The only person in the backyard was our daughter, and she's 7. That didn't make sense. How could a 7-year-old break through a fence with enough force to crack the wood? The neighbors didn't seem to believe what we were saying, but their backyard had security cameras, so we asked them to check. We watched the footage. We didn't see anyone or anything near the fence. Their daughter wasn't even outside at the time, but the audio was clear. You could hear the whispering, the growling, the barking, and the loud bang when the fence cracked. Everyone stood there, unsure of what to make of it.
Oh, okay, because best believe, I know I'm not crazy. But then, you saying the shit never happened. But then it's on camera. But it's just What's up? What's up? Stop up. Somebody lying. I know what I heard. I know what I saw. I know what I experienced. Right. But then somebody else saying, nah, Clark, all of that, I don't know what you're talking about. But then the camera is picking up the audio, but not the visuals. Man.
The parents suggested it might have been an elaborate prank pulled off by the kids using a sound machine or something. But even that explanation sounded silly. How would kids have done something like this without being seen? And why? To this day, I think it was their daughter. Something about her didn't sit right with me. I'm not a big believer in supernatural stuff, but that night felt unexplainable. Anyone I've told this story to doesn't believe me, but I know what I heard, and I know what we saw, or didn't see. My family moved out after a year. During that time, I avoided the neighbors completely. Occasionally, I'd catch their daughter watching me through the fence, just standing there, staring. I never acknowledged her.
Can you imagine saying out loud, hey, I know what I saw or didn't see. I'm not crazy.
So this story is something I thought I'd share. It's been on my mind for a while. My best friend and I spend a lot of time together, and we're always making inside jokes.
Right.
There's this particular house in our neighborhood that always stood out to us because we never saw any cars in the driveway. We never saw anyone leave either. Once in a while, we'd catch a glimpse of a kid, which was odd because they had a basketball hoop on their deck, but we rarely saw it being used. My best friend and I started joking about it, calling the house the kidnapper's house. We laughed about
Out of all things you could have said, you said a kidnapper house. Now, that's probably more likely than what it is. I farted, excuse me. That's probably what it is. I'm not even gonna hold you. Oh God.
At first, but over time, the mystery started getting to us. We decided to turn it into a little game. We'd make bets. I claimed they were kidnappers, and my friend thought that they were just weird and maybe even vampires. It became a routine for us. On weekends, we'd stake out the house. When my friend came over, we'd sit by the window with binoculars we bought off Amazon, taking notes like we were detectives. Yes, I know it sounds creepy, but for us, it was just a silly social experiment. We took turns watching the house while the other played video games. Honestly, we didn't expect anything to come of it. For the first few weekends, nothing strange happened.
The first few weekends? So what, we coming up on a month now? That's crazy.
But as the weeks went on, things started to get weird. We noticed more people in the house than we originally thought lived there. We even started seeing shadows of animals like parrots or dogs, but we never saw the animals themselves. Sometimes we saw shadows of people, but we couldn't make out their faces. It was like the more we watched, the stranger things got. Our notes became a mess. None of the patterns made sense, and the number of people in the house seemed to change constantly. It was too much to track. We decided to take things a step farther and come up with a plan. We decided to bake cookies and hand them out to the neighbors. This way, we'd have an excuse to knock on the house's door and hopefully meet whoever lived there. My best friend came up with the idea, and I thought it was genius. The only problem? I'm a terrible baker. Our first batch came out inedible, so we had to redo them. While baking, we kept trying to figure out how it was possible for people to live there without us ever seeing anyone leave or enter. The only explanation we could think of was that they must be using the back door. But that didn't make sense either, because the back of their house faced a lake. Finally, the day of our plan came. We started handing out cookies to the neighbors closest to us and worked our way around the neighborhood. We asked a few neighbors if they knew anything about the house, but everyone said the same thing. They didn't know much, only that they rarely seemed to be home. That only added to the mystery. When we finally reached the house, we knocked on the door and rang the doorbell.
What?
No one answered. It was silent, eerily silent. My best friend turned to me and said, "That's weird. We've seen so many people there, yet there are no cars, no sounds, nothing." Then my friend noticed something. The door was slightly open, just enough for someone to push it the rest of the way. Curiosity got the best of me. I know I shouldn't have, but I couldn't let weeks of investigation go to waste.
Yeah,
I pushed the door open and called out, "Hello?" My voice echoed, but it wasn't the kind of echo you'd hear in a big house. It was the kind of echo that happens when there's nothing inside. We stepped inside, and to our shock, there was no furniture. The living room we had been watching for weeks was completely empty. Room after room, there was nothing. No chairs, no dining table, no TV, nothing. We'd seen furniture before. We'd seen people inside. But now, it was all gone. We wandered through the house, more confused with each step.
Y'all doing too
It
much.
didn't make sense. If they had moved out, there would have been a moving truck or a for sale sign. But we had seen people there just a day ago. Then we noticed the basement door. My friend insisted we check it out, saying,
To the one that suggested that we go check out the basement, with all due respect, and I mean this with all due disrespect, I mean this in the utmost, cluck you, cluck you, cluck you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
everything weird is always hidden in the basement. I followed as we made our way downstairs. The basement was cold, with concrete walls and wooden floors. Parts of it felt strangely warm though, which only added to how unsettling it was. Despite searching the entire house, we found nothing. The water and electricity were still running, as if someone still lived there. But there was no sign of anyone. No furniture, no personal belongings, nothing. We left the house speechless. When we got back to my friend's place, we didn't talk for the rest of the day. We were both trying to process what had happened. How could an entire house of people and furniture vanish in one day? We checked before going out to deliver the cookies, and everything had been there. We were only gone for 30 minutes.
Am I tripping? Or are they only seeing? They can only see the front view of the house. I mean, they could probably see the side, but what if they just all went to the back? What if they all just went like to and from the back of the house?
If anyone has any idea what could have happened, or if you've had a similar experience, please let me know. There wasn't a single trace of anything left behind, yet it was obvious someone had lived there. Some of the lights were even still on. The part I don't like to think about is the idea that maybe they were still in there. Maybe they were hiding, watching us. Maybe there are secret tunnels underneath the house. Maybe they're inside the walls. There are a lot of maybes, but no answers.
I'm thinking they just went to and from the back of the house. Because you only had the front view.
This happened 2 years ago. I live with my wife in a small house in a nice but large neighborhood.
Right.
There are very many houses pretty close to each other. It's generally pretty nice though, and I haven't known there to be much crime. In the time that we had lived there to that point, my wife and I had gotten to know some of the neighbors. So I remember that one day I was talking to my next door neighbor Mark casually. I'm not sure if we were both getting the mail at the same time or what. I just know that he told me there was someone around the neighborhood who had apparently been knocking on people's doors and windows at night. He asked me if that happened at our house, and I said no. He said it hadn't happened at his house either, but apparently a couple of others on the street had. I thought it was weird and wondered about it, but overall, after we were done talking, I forgot about it. It didn't seem like too big of a deal to me for some reason. Well, a few days went by and everything was fine. Then one night, I remember my wife waking me up in the middle of the night. After I awoke, she told me that she heard someone knocking on our bedroom window. It was covered with the shades, so I couldn't see who was there. I wasn't hearing anything anymore, and my wife told me that it had stopped just before she had woken me up. I got up and went over to the window and looked out of it. I didn't see anything, and whoever it was had plenty of time to get away by then. I remembered the conversation with Mark, and I told my wife about it. We weren't quite sure what to do, if we should call the police or something. We ended up not doing anything though, and just going back to bed. I figured it was some prankster, probably a teenage kid who lived in the area. However, it was still not right to be scaring people at night like that. The next night, though, it happened again. This time, I was still awake. My wife was in the other room, and I suddenly heard a loud banging coming from the back door. My wife had been near that end of the house, and she came running towards me. I then walked to the back of the house where the noise was coming from. Our windows are pretty much always covered at night, so I couldn't see anyone out there. However, as I walked to the back of the house, I continued to hear the knocking. Someone was literally banging on the back door about as hard as they could. Now, I was angry and annoyed, and I really wasn't that scared. I'm 6'2", about 200 pounds, so I'm decent sized, and I figured I could take whatever punk was out there. As the knocking was still going on,
You say that. You say that until you realize they covered from head to toe. Nothing but Adidas. You're a clot.
swung the door open. There was a man dressed in all black as well as a ski mask and sunglasses standing there. This guy was taller than me, probably 6'5", but also fairly thin. He was probably about 190 pounds. He stood there right in front of me. I had been expecting like a teenager or something. The guy then shoved me in the chest, pushing me back, and to be honest, he was pretty strong and I was not expecting it. I fell to the ground just inside of my house. The guy then turned and ran off through our backyard and then into the neighbor's yard. Soon he was out of sight, and I got up and went straight for the phone and called the police. Looking back, I know I should not have opened the door like I did, and it was dangerous. Anyways, the cops came out and did a bit of an investigation. At the end of the day, though, the man was not found. But also after that, he never returned. I still don't know who he is, and I hope I never see him again.
I just hope you don't go checking shit out again. That's all I'm saying.
My neighborhood is usually the kind of place where you don't see much crime or strange incidents happening.
So
That's why this particular night caught me so off guard. Everyone here has Ring cameras, and like those videos you see online, sometimes they catch something odd. Maybe someone trying to break in, or just a random person acting strange. My story is a bit like that. I live in a pretty uptight neighborhood. We're not the wealthiest, but we're far from being in a bad area. Everyone here is mindful about security, so strange occurrences are rare. One day, while watching the news, I saw a story about someone's Ring camera in our neighborhood picking up something unusual. It showed a person in a mask leaving avocados on people's doorsteps.
What?
I thought it was hilarious. When do you ever get the chance to live in a neighborhood with an avocado thief? Except this wasn't really a thief. They weren't stealing anything, just leaving avocados. The story caught my attention, and
Or unless them avocados are cooked avocados, I gotta chill out.
few days, there seemed to be new incidents with this avocado thief. I don't know why they called him a thief if they were literally giving things away. Honestly, I was hoping they'd leave an avocado on my doorstep because I thought it would be hilarious. Plus, I wanted to catch it on my Ring camera and post it on TikTok. For 3 days, I waited, and then it finally happened. I caught the avocado thief on my Ring camera. I immediately sent the footage to
Come on. Let me see, I want to see the footage.
And soon after, my own house appeared on TV. Watching someone in a mask leave an avocado on my doorstep was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. It made my day, especially since avocados are my favorite food. Not long after, the avocado incident stopped, and I was a little disappointed. Life went back to normal. I was busy scrolling on my phone and doing homework. A few weeks later, while my parents were watching the news in the kitchen, something caught my attention. The avocado thief was back, but this time they weren't leaving avocados. Instead, they were dropping off mystery boxes. Some people received random Amazon items, things they actually needed, while others got completely pointless things, like a rock or a small tree. At first, it seemed harmless and even funny, but then other people started copying the idea. Strangers in masks were now showing up in the neighborhood, leaving pumpkins on doorsteps in December, or just standing outside homes without leaving anything at all. That's when things started to feel off. This wasn't playful anymore. I couldn't help but think,
It was never playful to begin with. What the cluck are you talking about?
what if one of these people wasn't here for a joke? What if someone dangerous used this as an opportunity to harm someone? For a while, my house was left alone, and I figured I had nothing to worry about. That is, until one weekend when my parents went out of town. It's always when they leave that things seem to take a turn. I stayed home alone with my dog, a gentle lab who never barks and wouldn't hurt a fly. She's the kind of dog who would lick an intruder instead of scaring them off.
Oh no.
That night, I was sitting in the living room, eating snacks and watching a movie, when my dog got up and looked out the window. Curious, I went to see what she was looking at, and there was someone standing outside holding a box. I thought, here we go again. I checked to make sure my Ring camera was recording, because I figured if the person wanted attention, I may as well let them have it. But this time, it was different. They just stood there, completely still, for what felt like an hour. I started to wonder if the sight of my dog was keeping them from approaching, or if they had something else planned. Eventually, I got tired of watching and I went back to my movie.
What?
When I checked again, they were gone. I looked outside, but didn't see anyone. My dog, however, started acting strangely. She was going from room to room, staring out windows she usually never paid attention to. Then, out of nowhere, she started barking. She never barks, so this really threw me off. I checked everywhere, backyard, front porch, side windows, but I couldn't find anyone. Somehow, they managed to ring the doorbell without being caught on the Ring camera, which made no sense. When I opened the front door, there was a box sitting on the porch.
Wow, so you just gonna open the door like that? It was a person standing right outside your house for an hour, give or take. And apparently the person was just all over your house. And you just go open the door like that. Okay.
My name on it. That's when things started to feel personal. I hesitated to open it, unsure if it was some kind of a prank or something more sinister. To test it, I kicked the box gently. It slid across the porch easily, like it was lightweight. I kicked it again just to be sure, and that's when I noticed something strange. It left a dark, sticky substance on the porch.
Ew.
When I bent down to take a closer look, I realized it wasn't dirt. It was blood.
Oh!
I had a bad feeling as I took in the sight and smell. Whatever was inside the box wasn't normal. I didn't know what to do, but I needed to know what was inside. I grabbed a towel to cover my face and opened it carefully. Inside was a dead raccoon, its body completely hollowed out. I couldn't believe someone had left it there for me. At that moment, I realized this wasn't just some prank. Whoever did this was watching me, waiting for my reaction. I tried not to show any emotion, but it was too late. I kicked the box off the porch and ran back inside, locking the door behind me. Not 10 minutes later, I heard footsteps on the porch again. When I peeked from the upstairs window, another box was sitting there. This time, I didn't want to deal with it. I kicked it around a few times, and when I finally opened it, it was empty. But inside was a note written in cursive that looked to be on expensive paper. It said, "Why would you leave the back door unlocked?" It included my name. Panic set in. I rushed to the back door, and to my relief, it was locked, but there were muddy footprints leading into the house. I grabbed a knife and checked every room, calling out for my dog. She wasn't responding, and I started to fear the worst. Finally, I found her sitting in one of the bedrooms, unharmed, wagging her tail like nothing was wrong. But before I could breathe a sigh of relief, I saw a shadow move across the hallway. I quickly grabbed my dog and climbed out onto the roof through the window. From there, I could see the entire property. In the yard below, I saw a group of people gathering, holding what looked like another box. One of them asked, "Where is she?" I stayed on the roof for what felt like hours, hoping they wouldn't find me. I wasn't sure what they had in the box, but I could see them from the shadows, and I was trying my best not to make any noise. Then my phone buzzed. The sudden sound startled me, and I panicked. I worried they would hear it. The buzzing didn't stop. It was one airdrop after another. Fearing the noise would give me away, I grabbed my phone and threw it as far as I could. I quickly chased after it and repositioned myself to the front of the house, staying hidden from the shadows. From my vantage point, I could still see them, but now they couldn't see me. That's when I realized they weren't playing games anymore. Their reaction to losing sight of me was immediate and aggressive. It wasn't funny or lighthearted anymore. They were furious. I watched as they bolted into the woods, clearly disoriented. I knew the area better than they did, and I could tell they were headed straight for a swamp. This was my chance. I climbed back through the window, shut it, latched it tightly, and locked the door. To throw them off, I made it seem like I was still in the house. Then I grabbed my dog, put on her leash, and bolted out the front door. We ran as fast as we could to my neighbor's house. I banged on their door, desperate for help, even though it was really late at night. I probably startled them, but I didn't care. I just needed to feel safe. Later, I would see the irony. My escape was caught on their Ring camera. The footage of me banging on the neighbor's door became part of the same story that started with me laughing at other people's Ring camera footage on the news. After that night, everything went viral in my local town. People were talking about it everywhere. There was a city meeting, and soon cops began patrolling the neighborhood where the Ring camera incidents had taken place.
Y'all just not doing that?
After that, the strange occurrences stopped, but I never felt comfortable staying in that house alone again. For the next 2 to 3 months, I moved in with my aunt in New Jersey. The trauma from that night stayed with me, and even now, I think twice about answering the door.
All you need to do in a situation like that, when it comes to your home, when it comes to your house, right, is to get some protection, preferably Adidas protection. Once you do that, and you check the checklist every day, every night, before you go to bed, when you wake up, make sure that checklist is checked the hell off. Then you good. You don't got to worry about nothing. You don't got to worry about nobody. And you set. You set. Now, if you don't do that, then you not. Because best believe, if that avocado thing, I would immediately raise some suspicions. I'll lie to you not. I guarantee you, some of the people got that avocado and ate it. If it was ripe, I think it's ripe, right? When it's ready, yeah. I guarantee you, some people ate that avocado, and they probably messed with the avocado too. To be honest with you, but you know, it is what it is. Keep it cool, keep it classy, and I love you. Stay happy, our family.